Word.
Yeah.
All right, we're live.
Yeah.
Hey.
So easy. Asking you to run around in a bikini when it's like, 20 degrees. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
The Miracle Twerker, yes.
And raining and sleeting.
Sleeting.
So this said we're live. Are we on? I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Are we live?
Yep.
Oh,
We're live.
Oh, we are live. 29 seconds.
where are you seeing that?
Oh, I see it. Oh, yes.
It popped up on the screen.
Oh, I see 37.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for us, and I am the director of the Miracle Twerker. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey.
Today, we had a lot of fun watching it over here with our team. So I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves so you know who everyone is. Brianna, why don't we start with you?
Hello, my name is Brianna Reed, and I am the Miracle Twerker.
And Leanne.
Hi, my name is Leanne Borghese, and I play Vivian.
Efrat.
Hey, I'm Efrat Asheri, and I worked on movement direction.
Greg.
Hi, I'm Gregory Johnson, aka Juba, and I contributed 2 songs to the soundtrack, to the score.
And Kat.
And I'm Kat Roman, and I help produce it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So awesome. So I think it'd be kind of fun right now to maybe jump into some cast and crew, all of us here Q&As about what we just watched, and then later move into a bit of a audience Q&A if there's any questions out there circling. But first, maybe if we could start with Nick. Nick, it'd be really cool to talk about where the story came from, A Miracle Twerker. How did you come up with it? What's the background? What's your relationship with it? How did it come to be? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, it kind of just was divine intervention. I was just had a funny idea for a funny title. I thought it was like, oh, The Miracle Twerker, how funny. It could be about a stripper who brings people back to life. And I originally thought, well, I'll do a little fun 2-minute video with a couple of people and we'll try to make it go viral. And then it just sort of snowballed and turned into a bigger story and a bigger story. And it became this short film. And I, when I started to think about why I was writing this, I wanted to write something fun and funny and big and that had dance and music. But also, this character of Vivian, who is the sort of religious zealot, came up, and I started to really realize that I had a lot of thoughts about people who use religion as a sort of a mask for their for hatred, and I started to have these memories of when I was young and I was coming out as gay to my family and my born again Christian cousins telling me that I should pray for the gift of singleness, and that always sort of was this thing that had stayed with me as like, of course I'm going to rebel against that. So in some ways this was that rebellion, and I think that this film, though, for a long time I couldn't quite figure out who Carla was. I knew, I had this like funny name for her. Originally, we called her Chianti Chardonnay because she.
I loved that.
I was a fan of that.
That was my favorite.
It was really funny, and we
nice.
filmed it with Chianti Chardonnay in some scenes, and we ended up cutting it out of the edit. But Brianna, who is a friend of mine, and we had not worked together before, but they had the trailer playing. Our neighbors, we actually live in the same building, and I really wanted to pull together from my community and the community of the people who were involved to make this. I didn't really hold a big casting process. I sort of handpicked everybody, and if I didn't know someone who was right, there was always somebody else involved in the project that could bring someone in. And Brianna was upstairs. I knew she was a fabulous dancer. I knew her history without really. I didn't know that she was such a fabulous actress until Brianna, you came to me because you had a callback. And I did a little coaching with you, and I was like, wow, she's great. And then eventually that led to me reaching out and saying, hey, do you want to come and are you interested in playing this part? And I still remember you coming to my apartment, and we read through the script, and we were talking about the chase sequence, and it was a little more elaborate back then. And you said something, well, what if I do this? And split your legs in the air like this. I'm not gonna.
I remember you telling me about that.
So anyway, Brianna, can you just talk a bit about your process and the character and sort of where, kind of like how your history came into bringing this character to life?
So yeah, I thank you for all of that. But I loved her as soon as I met her. I thought she was such a fun character. And I really delved into my growing up in South St. Pete. I mean, we grew up on Two Live Crew, Jam Pony Express DJ,
Pony Express,
Kia, Kaya, and like South Florida dance. So that kind
Poison
of
Clan,
and
yeah.
I just imagined her as being like maybe my neighbor or something. But I just love the spirit of the character because she's really about ascension, and especially back then too, but especially now it really rings different because of where we are. But even then I just loved Greg, you know this, but my favorite rapper is Rakim, and I thought about this thing that he said in the many amazing things that he said, but it ain't where you from, it's where you're at.
That's right.
So that's what I loved about that character is it's like no matter where you are, you can always find joy, you can always find ascension, you can always find what your gift is. And if you're surrounding yourself with the right people or you get the right opportunity, you're able to really excel. And that's what I felt like Carla did. Like if it would have been a different character where she was like downtrodden and she like it, it wouldn't have been the same, and I wouldn't have probably been as excited about it. But what made it so exciting is that she, no matter where she was helping people, she was doing this. And I think it speaks to a lot of how we judge people, how we look at people for things that we see on the outside, and we don't really get to know and understand who the spirit of people are. So I really just love that. I think that Nick, you just did such a good job of incorporating that into such a short film. But yeah, I mean, you had to pull me back on some stuff because like you said, you're always doing splits in your living room. But literally I would be like, hey, what if we did this? Take over the car. Well, you know what I mean? So it was like you had to be like, okay, we're just so it was just a great process. But I really resonated with her because of her ascension, her expansion, her trying to bring light to others. So I just loved that part, and I thought it was fun and funny, and yeah, all of that. Yes, I love that. We're making a celebratory film about a stripper. Yes,
Right.
Yeah,
thank
so
you,
that was,
Sai.
yeah, thanks for saying that, Sai. Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like that was such a big thing, a big discovery in the script originally was like, oh no, she doesn't want to quit being a stripper. Like
She
that was
loves it.
discovery. This is her life. This is what she does. She just turns out to be this divine goddess, and that is what makes her so amazing and special. And it's a real problem. It's a real question if she wants to leave that club because that club is her life. That's
But the thing is, we're all divine, no matter where you are. That's the whole point. Is like there's divinity within all of us. We're all made of the same stuff that the cosmos are made of. So we all have to find our divinity, no matter what circumstance you're in, because that finding that and believing that oftentimes moves you out of out of situations and into different situations.
Well, so let's talking about divinity. So let's go to Leanne, who is playing the Holy Reverend Pastor Vivian. Leanne and I have a long history of working together, and Brianna is my upstairs neighbor. Leanne is my downstairs neighbor. Although she's not currently there right now, but she is often found downstairs. So this was all I found the two main forces of the film. Right outside my door. And Leanne, I think you make quite a transformation in the role of Vivian, and I
Say
wanted
that again. Say it one more time. I
you
might
make
delay.
a transformation, a physical transformation.
Yeah.
You look a very different person. And when we've screened this with live audiences, you're often not recognized at the after party.
Yeah.
So
I think that might be a good thing.
I think it is. And can you just talk a bit about your process with the character and sort of what some of the hurdles were and what you went through with
Sure. Yeah, well, as Nick was talking about, this is a very personal. This is a part of your life, and as your good friend, I've heard different parts of your life. So this character and learning how Vivian was modeled after some of your influences.
Well, the idea of Christianity as people wield it in ways that are not Christian, I think, was really the idea.
And so we had a lot of conversation about the language and how to say these such hateful things through the guise of this religious veil that she possessed. And it was difficult in the beginning to own it, but once I realized there's a lot of people are like this. And so it was good to transform at the end, but it was really fun to delve into it. And working with Brianna on this, it was, some of the parts were really hard. It was very intense, and it's a comedy in many ways, but is so much a drama in other ways. But it was joyful to get to the redemption at the end. But it was fun. It was fun to play this a lot.
What you're saying there is interesting because we really tried hard to, like, yes, the characters are huge, they're bigger than life. It's a very celebratory sort of vibe in the whole film. But I hope we succeeded, but we really attempted to make sure that the characters were grounded in some kind of a truth, that it didn't take place a total camp. That it was still telling the story and honoring the people. And I think that you did a really good job of that. I think you brought a lot of your larger than life style, but you stayed on that line. And I think that's what makes it work. So that she's legitimately scary, but we're also happy that she has a miraculous shift in the end.
Right. I mean, be able to throw a crucifix and just hit it in someone's head. That's golden. Golden.
That was the best.
But also, we filmed the very first scene where we bust into the club, and I'm screaming at Brianna, God hates horrors, and this is their first shot.
Yeah, first shot.
And the thing is because we're neighbors, like Leanne's pretty nurturing. Just in general, so she like makes cookies for Nick and I, and like does like very like nurturing things. So it was I felt your pain, but it was fun. I saw you going through that difficult process of like.
It's like, it's okay if I call you a whore, Brianna, right? It's okay. Okay, here we go. It was fun. Yeah.
We grown.
We did. We got the work done, but that's what it was about. It's about getting your story across, in a real way. So that was a good goal.
Brianna, you're also the choreographer on the film, and Efrat, you're here as our movement director.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see if I can hear from you a bit about sort of the process and where where sort of the dances came from and what some of your ideas were and how you worked together to bring these sections of dance to the screen.
So just I love working with Efrat. It was fun. We ended up, for time purposes, like just moving through stuff, figuring out choreography, and I came with what I had, and she's like, okay, this looks good here. She did a lot of the blocking. I came up with the choreography. She did the blocking, especially when we got into the space, right, Efrat? It had to completely like switch around from what we'd done at our rehearsal studios at Ripley, what we like planned, because like a choreographer, you see something big, but Efrat, being a director of her own company, can see the intricacies of like, no, we need to do this here. This will look good here. So it was great. I knew what I I wanted to do, since I was doing a lot of the dancing. I knew what I would be comfortable with, especially dancing in those heels, because we didn't use a block heel, we used a stiletto. All stiletto. But so it was great to just be able to have her there as someone who has the expertise in directing her own company, knowing how things should be blocked and placed and that type of thing, and working with the other dancers who are actually Gigi and Bridget, who are amazing, who are actually pole dancers, like professional pole dancers. I actually took a class with Bridget, a pole dancing class with Bridget. But then really, like, the choreography mostly is like, if I'm at the club and it's a good night, like the Florida thing, like at 3, you know how to put your hands on your knees, and that's just cultural where we're from. So it was great. I don't even think Nick he was like, whoa, this is a really you are really in this, like you're really getting into this. It just brought so much back. And Efrat, you know, she's a B girl, so she just has so much to bring to the process. That was so dope working with her, because I couldn't see, if I'm dancing, what needs to happen, and just having her there just was like, okay, I can just be calm, I can get into the character and rest assured that she knew what was going on. How'd you feel, Efrat?
Yeah, well, I love this film. I feel like I could watch it 17 million times. So obviously, you guys can see how, like, Brianna is the best person you would ever want to work with if you're in the direction. And I don't know if you remember, but do you remember we rehearsed in my living room where I am?
Yes, that was like the first time we met.
Before people were like dancing in their living rooms all the time. That's what we were doing. And it was kind of just like, you know, Brianna, you hold so much information in your body that it was just kind of like, whoa, like, oh, you know, I was just there to sort of guide and bird, like, okay, yeah, this might work better at this angle, or and just, I think ultimately we're both such dance nerds in so many ways, and we like to just get in it and go crazy and maybe do too much sometimes. And so bouncing those ideas off of each other, I think honestly it was the kind of community that Nick really developed, where it did feel like there was this collaborative spirit. And so, you know, because this wasn't the first time I worked with Nick, I just felt really lucky to get to tap into that and be part of it. But it was like a dream. I didn't really have to do very much. I mean, you saw these legs and everything moving. It was like great. But what is also cool though is that you know, I'm a B girl, but I never got super into pole.
Like, big up, like,
but I have a lot of B girlfriends who got into pole dancing like after breaking, just because, you know, they had all that strength already and they were like exploring all these layers of their feminine divine energy. It was also other connections. So yeah, it was a blast. Yeah. Nick, thanks, Brianna, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Efrat.
And Efrat, I think it was for you that we found Pauline, who played Diamond too.
Yeah.
Like, and also, well, both you and Brianna had a connection to Justin, who plays DJ. So, you know, there was this sort of overlapping. It just started to snowball. We knew this person, this person, this person. And pretty soon we just, like, everybody was able to like put somebody forward, and it was such an amazing thing about putting this together. So as we're talking about dance, let's go to Greg a little bit. I want to talk about the music. You know, I know you and Brianna have a long history, and that's how you came to this film. And this song "Miracle," every time we screen it, people tell me they can't get it out of their head.
Yeah,
they're still
great. That's great
about that song. You know, a week later. So can you talk a little bit about the process of that and how that song came from the script and all that? Yeah.
Well, I think Brianna was talking about this, alluding to this a little earlier. You know, we're both from South Tampa. You know, she's from St. Pete. I'm from Tampa, and I spend a lot of time down there. And you know, we're part of a crew of different artists and musicians and poets and stuff like that. But she was like the superstar. You know what I mean? She was the first one really to go to New York and begin to make the dreams happen. And so when she approached me about the project, you know, it was an interesting opportunity to tap back into our background. You know, like she was saying, where there's like in Tampa, and I spend a lot of time down. There's, you know, Florida's interesting. You've got Caribbean influence. You know, you got New Yorkers going back and forth a lot. You know, so it was an opportunity to find a song for the title track that could honor, you know, what I think is a very sex positive film. You know, what is a film that embraces the divine feminine, like you mentioned. Hip hop could do more in that direction. You know, Andre 3000 from Outkast and Mac Miller, rest in peace. You know, they've explored sort of really positive, you know, hip hop that honors the power and the divinity and femininity. And so that's really what we were trying to achieve. You know, something that's rooted in the dance and electro funk hip hop influences, but could also really tap into the esoteric aspect of the script and of the characters.
Yeah.
Wait, can you talk about your background though in hip hop? Like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
at the time, of course, you notice at the time, you know, we got down and we've been great friends for a long time. That, you know, we had a crew going named Stolen, and, you know, our dream was to move to New York and get a record deal and the whole show. So I ended up following Brianna to New York and did a lot of underground hip hop music, travel in those circles. The other fellow on the title track, Breeze Ever Flowing, is super well respected New York MC, battle champion, dozen records on his discography or more. And, you know, it's an opportunity for him as well to kind of find this different voice. You know, if you listen to his music, you know, it might not be as bass influenced or trap influenced as this was, but it was a really interesting opportunity to stretch ourselves a little bit. So,
but also your writing.
Absolutely. Right. So a little bit about my background. I moved to New York, moved to New York for grad school, and got involved in hip hop journalism. So that's really what took off. So I've written for a lot of major hip hop publications, written for The Source, Vibe, Double XL, et cetera, et cetera. And after that, I got into video game design for a major video game company. And that's around the time that they reached out to me to ask me to submit and participate with this.
Cool.
So
And
that's
thank
my
you for
background.
meeting those deadlines.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we put Miracle together. We put Miracle together just for this project, and so
shout out
hopefully
to everybody in Detroit and Tampa too who worked
Right.
with you on those tracks.
we had people in Harlem, people in Detroit, people in Tampa. You know, it was a lot of different folks that came together to collaborate. So real quickly, shout out to Crime Fighter, shout out to D Gun, shout out to Breeze Overflowing. Shout out to P and Slave Angel Music. Thanks for all the collaborators and Pro Brock for your contributions.
That's so cool.
I know. I
Thank
remember
you.
putting all the names on it because all I know is Brianna was like, "Yeah, let's get Greg to do this music." And all of a sudden, I had this track. I was like, "All right."
Remember, we listened to that in my living room. I was like,
Right.
Yes.
And we were like,
It's really great.
Well, both the opener and Miracle were the product of all those collaborators. But I think it speaks to the strength of the short film and to everyone's performance that everybody was just inspired to give it their best. And it came together very quickly.
And that opener, the Shifferum, you had that from another project, right? You had that before.
It wasn't from another project, but it was a demo that I had just been looking for the right home for it. And once I read the script, I quickly had to take it out of demo stage, basically, because it felt like a good thing.
Great. Yeah, are we saying we have some questions here?
We our number one fan, Sarah Sai on Facebook, has
I love
asked
you.
what our production process was like. And I think it'd be great, Brianna, to have you speak to that a bit. You're so involved in FRAT. And to just kind of share maybe some favorite memories about that. I will say, just to kick us off, Sai, Nick, I can't remember us having any issues presenting the topic.
Well, the subject matter, the open or close any doors, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do know that we we did a site visit at every strip club in the tri-state area. And that in and of itself was like research. I mean, because we made friends with so many bouncers.
Oh my God. And our rental car, Hertz was out of everything but a Challenger. But a Challenger.
Right.
I don't know.
We were like up with a Challenger.
Yeah, Challenger. We drag around to all these different strip clubs to try to figure out the right one.
But I don't feel like anything. Trying to remember if there was any situation where we came up against anything. I don't think so. I will say that there are some things like when you tell people it's about a stripper who can bring people back from the dead, everyone immediately laughs and says that sounds awesome. Yeah. I want to hear more about that. But it also, I think some people have questions like, how sexual is the movie, and how, and I think one of the surprising things is how sort of, I think it feels kind of wholesome. Like it doesn't, it's a little bit more about the playfulness and the fun.
I know all of the twerk lessons I get. I'm like, guys, I'm not really a twerker. I can introduce you to people, but if you want to take a contemporary modern ballet or
well, we did have the weather. We did have below zero.
Well, yeah,
that was the only production, but that made it a good story.
That was the only time where I was like, well, I don't know, Kat may disagree, but that was the only time where I was like pretty not happy, because it was literally like I think it was like it was like 14 degrees. It was like sleeting, and not for nothing, they had coats. Okay? I had on a leotard, tights, and some boots, and I'm like, thank goodness it was not where we are this time that we're living in now, because
that chase sequence, really we had to come back to it like 3 months later, because we had only got one shot off in when we did principal photography, and it was a cool shot, and it still is, and it's in the film. But then we kind of came back at it and thinking, oh well, it was raining that night and it was cold. We'll get better weather. We had better weather, and then all of a sudden the snowstorm.
It was sleeting, and I was running in heels in the sleet. That was a moment. That was a moment.
Yeah.
Well, and it was raining, and you know how Black women are about our hair. So my edges.
We made it through it.
The other thing that I think came up that was challenging was actually the club that we were shooting in was an active club. So at a certain time, they really needed us to pack up and move things and get ready. And, they were both used to having people shoot there, and also like, it was tough.
I had to deal with it.
I'm telling you, a 6'5", 60-year-old Polish man who likes to be timely, and so that, I mean, but side to add to that, it's, and what Brianna's mentioned and Leanne as well, like what made the production process so wonderful was Nick, over so many years, has developed a really solid community of creatives who he was able to kind of like ask to contribute to this special story. It made getting resource and bringing creatives on to help do do every department, make everything happen, made that a lot easier. And I think, Nick, because you've worked with Leanne, because you, Leanne, and Brianna in the same apartment building is a sitcom waiting to happen.
Throw Nathan in there too. Nathan, our doctor. Yeah.
Blocks away.
The doctor. I know, where's Nathan?
Medical examiner, yes.
Medical.
Yes, and Efrat.
Efrat and I have done, I don't know, a ton of projects together. We've been working together for years. Leanne and I have known each other since we were teenagers. I mean, it's, and I remember when Kat went over the script, she was like, "Are you kidding? We're going to try to do this." And I was like, "Well, but I know people, and I know, what I mean." So it's all about.
But at first, you had like a paraglider, like you know, yeah, that
I
was
was a paraglider at one point.
Oh, and you told me
Very
to ease back, and there was a
I
paraglider.
know.
I love that.
It was such
That's
a joy.
rich, Nick.
Yeah. Brianna, what was that?
No, I was saying that's rich. He was telling me to pull back, and there was a paraglider in there at one point.
I had to pull back. I had to pull back long before you were even.
Oh, Brianna, I can't even tell you we had to shut it down. But it was so cool to see this community that you've built with this really, like you said, wholesome story about accepting yourself and sex positivity that's so rare, just put together and see all these people come together to help make that happen. That was, you know, that just made the whole production process that much more worth it and that much easier, even though there were challenges. It just made it all so much more worth it. See everyone.
And I think because we all love you, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It was like, we love you. We believed in the project. We believed in what you were trying to say. We believe in your talent. And yeah, I mean.
We've got a great product, a great film. So it's awesome.
We're proud of you.
Everyone. Yeah. And thank you to the Hip Hop Film Festival for making this happen. It's so cool.
Thank you.
But
yes, thank you, Hip Hop Film Festival.
Yes, thank you.
So I think that's all the questions. And if anyone has any other questions pop up from the audience here,
okay,
now's the time if you would like to ask a question. I don't know who's out there.
Is there a website we can see more of Gregory or hear more of your music, or is that?
Yeah, you can, you know, I'm on social media, Instagram at Cigar City Pro. If you want to drop by my Instagram, you know, check some of my music and stuff out. Absolutely.
Great. And then you can follow us if you want to find out more about the Miracle Twerker. We're on Instagram. Our handle is the Miracle Twerker. We also have a website, which is themiracletwerker.com. You know, we have some hopes to build this story into something, into a larger project. And so you can follow us and see where we're going with Carla and the Miracle Twerker.
Yay!
Awesome, dope.
Good to see everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Hip Hop Film Festival.
Thank you, Hip Hop Film Festival.
Bye.
Thank you. Absolutely. For the culture.